Hello, this is a video showing some of the basic functions of the TI Nspire Calculator app that some of us have bought on the iPad. What I'm starting from is on my home screen. I'm going to open up the folder that I keep my calculator in, and I'm going to click on the TI Nspire CAS app. This brings up the home screen, and in the upper left-hand corner here, I've got a plus symbol. That means to add a new document. I'm going to add it, and I want to add a calculator this time because I'm just going to work on some basic calculations. There are some controls here like the wrench and the display controls. I don't need to worry about those yet. They come later. On the bottom right hand corner of the screen, if you need to make the keyboard go away, you can press that key. And to bring it back, just tap in the typing area again. Some of the functions that we can do are just the basic add, subtract, multiply, and divide. There are a couple of fancy things that you can do that I'd like to show you. Some of the basics are simply like adding. If I want to do 7 plus 5, I press the Enter key. And that gives me the answer 12. Easy as pie. If I want to add a decimal, 2.3 plus 16. Same thing, it gives me the answer in decimal form. If I want to subtract, say 2.3 minus 16, it'll give me a negative number. Now let's say I wanted to add a negative number though. I need to use this key right here to make the number negative, not the subtract key, the negative button. So to do that, I'm going to do 7 plus negative 11. See the difference between the subtraction sign, which is longer and right in the middle of the numbers, and the negative sign, which is raised a little bit and it's much shorter. When I press enter, the answer, of course, is negative 4. Multiplication works much the same way. I'm going to do 8, and then notice that the times button is an X here. But when I press it, I get a dot for multiplication. That's how the computer display shows the dot. So 8 times 4, enter. Of course, it's just 32. Notice that my previous answers have been scrolling up there, up top. They're still there, and you can get to them through by using the arrow keys. I'll show more of that in a moment. If I want to do multiplication using the parentheses, that's okay too. When I press the open parenthesis, it gave me both the open and the closed parenthesis so that there's no mistakes about not enough parentheses being open. And if I put an expression, say 3 plus 2, inside the parentheses, the calculator is smart enough to know the order of operations. It'll do 3 plus 2 first, and then multiply by 8. When I press enter, of course, the answer is 40. Multiplying decimals, like 6.23 times 8.47. Multiplying those, notice that these both have 2 decimal places, 6.23 and 8.47. But when I press enter, the answer has 4 decimal places. We'd want you to round by hand. There is a way to set the calculator so that it will always give you only 2 decimal places, but there are some functions that we use where that is a mistake to do. You will get rounding error in the wrong answer. So I want you to round off by hand. So you would report this number right here as 52.77 because the 8 rounds the 6 up. Multiplying is easy, but dividing can be a little bit complicated. There are a few weird things about dividing. 16 divided by 4, of course. Notice when I press the divide key, it gives me a slash. So this kind of looks like a fraction. That will change on this side, changes it from a fraction. But the answer, 16 divided by 4, of course, is 4. A similar problem, though, 16 divided by 5. Well, that's not very helpful. It gives me 16 over 5 as the problem and 16 over 5, the improper fraction, as the answer. Let's say I want the decimal equivalent instead, though. Instead of pressing enter, what I'm going to do is long press enter, and a couple other options pop up. See the squiggly equal sign right there? That means approximate. It's going to give us the decimal equivalent, rounded off to whatever decimal, however many decimal places we've got the calculator set to. It's going to give us the decimal equivalent of that fraction, 16/5. So when I slide my finger over to that, it highlights, and when I let go, it gives me 3.2 as the answer. 16 divided by 5 equals 3.2 in decimal. Sometimes you want the decimal answer instead of the fraction answer. 16/5 we consider an exact answer, even though it's an improper fraction. 3.2 the calculator considers an approximate answer. With more complicated problems, you might want one or the other. More on that in another video. For right now, let's just look at the idea of the history, how I could go back and access a previous problem. Let's say I was doing a problem and I wanted an answer from way before. If I want, I can, not sure what happened there. If I want, I can use these arrow keys by pressing the up arrow right here repeatedly. It's going to scroll up through my history of the problems that I did previously in this document, since the beginning of when I started this document. Let's say I want to go back and get the 7 plus -11 again. To get back to the current problem, I can just press enter. There it is. And it brings it back down to the current line, the current action line. So if I wanted to do 7 plus 11, say -30, a new equation, but it's based on a previous equation. When I hit enter, now I get the answer to that. Using the history on these calculators is very, very powerful because it saves you a lot of typing when you're doing complicated problems, especially when there's a lot of squareds and that sort of thing in it. I think that's enough for now. Have fun. Subsequent videos will have information about other functions that we use in class, like raising to a power, taking square roots, and other assorted fun stuff.